Have you ever wished to be untouchable? To wake up one day and discover that criticism no longer pierces you, rejection no longer breaks you, betrayal no longer leaves scars? Have you ever fantasized about living a life where nothing shakes you, where every word, every silence, every loss simply slides off you as if your heart were made of steel? Maybe you've dreamed of being unshakable, of walking through the world immune to pain. And maybe, if you are honest, you've tried to play that role. You've built the image of someone strong, someone resilient, someone who can take anything without flinching. On the outside, you are confidence like armor. But inside? Inside, there's a different story. There are nights when you feel like collapsing. Days when you hide tears behind forced smiles. Moments when you wonder if anyone notices how exhausted you are from pretending. This is the paradox of the human condition. We long to be untouchable, but the very effort of trying to appear that way is what keeps us in chains. You think that if you can just hide the cracks, no one will see them. But the truth is, those cracks are where life itself is trying to reach you. Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human psyche, once said, "We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become." Think about that. You are not the betrayal you endured, not the criticism you received, not the silence that left you bleeding inside. But if you allow those events to define you, if you keep reacting without awareness, then you are living as if you are nothing more than the sum of your wounds. And this is where the real trap lies. As long as you are running from pain, you remain controlled by it. The harder you try to escape, the tighter its grip becomes. You silence yourself, but inside you scream. You numb yourself, but the ache only grows stronger. You avoid conflict, but resentment eats you alive. You may look strong to others, but you know the truth. That silent pain you carry doesn't disappear just because you hide it. It follows you into your relationships, into your decisions, into the way you see yourself. And the cruelest part? It convinces you that you are the problem. That if only you were smarter, stronger, kinder, more perfect, you would finally stop hurting. But here's the reality that most people never dare to say out loud: pain is not weakness. Pain is not evidence that you are failing. Pain is the raw language of your psyche trying to show you what you've ignored for too long. Jung understood this better than anyone. He knew that the parts of us we avoid, the wounds, the fears, the insecurities, become the very forces that rule our lives from the shadows. He called this territory the unconscious. What you resist inside yourself does not vanish. It festers. It disguises itself. It controls you in ways you don't even see. The anger that explodes out of nowhere, the sadness that clings to you without reason, the anxiety that paralyzes you when life is going well, none of it is random. It is the echo of something deeper, something unintegrated. And as long as you refuse to face it, you will remain a hostage of every external event. So let me ask you, do you really want to be untouchable, or do you want to be free? Because those are not the same thing. Untouchable is an illusion, an armor that eventually cracks. But freedom comes from something else entirely. It comes from awareness. You've been told all your life that the way to stop suffering is to protect yourself, to control circumstances, to avoid vulnerability. But control is an illusion. No matter how careful you are, people will disappoint you. Words will wound you. Loss will come. Trying to live untouched is like trying to hold back the ocean with your hands. You will exhaust yourself, and still the waves will break through. Jung believed that the real key is not in control but in integration. True strength is not the absence of pain. It is the ability to hold pain in your hands and still know who you are. It is to bleed and still walk forward. It is to cry and still remain whole. Think about it. A person who avoids pain is fragile, because their entire life is built on running. But a person who has faced their wounds and integrated them is unshakable, not because nothing touches them, but because everything touches them and they no longer break. That is the difference between pretending to be strong and becoming truly strong. Pretending means you hide, repress, silence, distract. Becoming means you turn toward the darkness, you look it in the eyes, and you say, I see you, and you no longer control me. But here's the hard part: to do this, you must stop blaming the outside world for your suffering. You must stop believing that the betrayal itself, the criticism itself, the silence itself is what hurts you. The brutal truth is this: those things only wound you because they touch something already open inside. An old scar. A hidden emptiness. A story you have told yourself for too long. Jung taught that the external world acts like a mirror. What devastates you is not the event itself, it is the place inside you that still bleeds when touched. That's why two people can face the same rejection, the same loss, the same words, and one crumbles while the other stands clear. It's not about the event. It's about the wound it awakens. And here's the uncomfortable truth: you still suffer so much because, on some level, you believe you can control how the world treats you. You are still trying to be good enough, strong enough, wise enough, thinking that if you finally manage to be perfect, no one will ever hurt you again. But this is a lie. Control is impossible. And as long as you cling to it, you will live in constant tension, anticipating every blow, waiting for the next wound, exhausting yourself in a battle you cannot win. Do you want to stop suffering? Then stop trying to protect yourself from suffering. What you need is not more control but more awareness. Freedom begins the moment you realize that nothing outside you can truly break you unless it finds an echo within you. The battlefield is not out there, it is inside. And that battlefield has a name: the unconscious. What you refuse to see, refuses to release you. What you repress, rules you. What you hide, finds its way back in patterns, in relationships, in fears you cannot explain. Jung warned us clearly: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This is why you feel like a victim of destiny, as if everything is happening to you. But in truth, it is happening from you, out of the parts of you you've ignored. So here's where our journey begins. If you want to stop being fragile, if you want to stop being controlled by every look, every word, every silence, you must stop running from your own depths. Because freedom is not found in being untouched, it is found in being fully touched, and still standing. This is the first truth that may hurt, but it is also the truth that can set you free. The pain you feel is not your enemy. It is your invitation. And in the next step of this journey, we will go deeper into that dark territory, the unconscious. We will see how the very wounds you've avoided hold the key to becoming unshakable. But for now, let me leave you with this question: are you ready to stop pretending to be strong, and finally become whole? You've been told your whole life that you are in control of your choices. That you decide how you feel, how you act, how your life unfolds. But if that's true, why do you keep sabotaging yourself? Why do you repeat the same painful relationships? Why does anger rise out of nowhere, sadness return without reason, fear paralyze you when everything is finally going well? The answer is not in the surface of your mind. It lies deeper, in the hidden territory Carl Jung called the unconscious. Most people think of the unconscious as a storage box for forgotten memories, a vague cloud of thoughts you no longer recall. But Jung saw it differently. To him, the unconscious was not passive, it was active. A living system of desires, wounds, fears, and instincts that shapes your reality without your permission. It is not just background noise. It is the unseen director of your life. Think of it this way. When a word cuts you deeply, while another person shrugs it off, what's the difference? It's not the word, it's the wound it touches. That wound lives in the unconscious. When you feel abandoned by someone, and the pain seems unbearable, it's not just their absence, it's the echo of every time you felt abandoned before, still alive inside you. The unconscious does not disappear just because you try to ignore it. In fact, the more you repress it, the stronger it becomes. The patterns you cannot break, the toxic cycles you return to, the emotions you can't explain, they are all the voice of the unconscious demanding to be heard. Jung put it simply, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That is why you sometimes feel as if destiny itself is against you. You think you're unlucky. You think life is unfair. But in truth, you are meeting the same lesson over and over, until you finally face it. How many times have you thought, why does this always happen to me? That phrase is the calling card of the unconscious. It repeats, not to punish you, but to reveal what you have not yet integrated. But here's the tragedy, instead of listening, you judge yourself. You repress your feelings. You silence your anger. You drown your sadness. You distract yourself from your emptiness. You think ignoring it will solve it. But repression does not heal, it enslaves. Jung warned, condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. Every time you shame yourself for feeling too much, every time you call yourself weak for crying, every time you silence the voice inside because it makes you uncomfortable, you tighten the chains of the unconscious. And the unconscious finds another way to emerge. If you don't face your pain, it shows up as anxiety that won't let you sleep. If you don't accept your anger, it explodes at the wrong people, in the wrong moments. If you don't integrate your fears, they become walls between you and every opportunity. This is not bad luck. It is not punishment. It is your psyche calling you back to yourself. So ask yourself, what do you keep tripping over? Which patterns return again and again? What relationships feel like copies of each other? What triggers erupt in you like clockwork? These are not coincidences. They are messages. The battlefield is not outside. It is within. And the enemy is not life, not other people, not rejection or betrayal. The enemy is your own refusal to see what lies in the dark. This is why so many people feel fragile, constantly at the mercy of others' words and actions. They are not fragile because the world is cruel, they are fragile because they have left their unconscious unguarded. Every sharp word finds an open wound. Every silence strikes an old scar. Every loss reopens an old grief. And so they live tossed about by forces they do not understand. But it doesn't have to be this way. To become truly unshakable, you must stop running from the unconscious and begin to integrate it. Integration means seeing clearly the parts of you that you've tried to deny. It means meeting your fear, your anger, your loneliness, and saying, I will not run from you anymore. This is why Jung spoke so often of the shadow. The shadow is everything in you that you have rejected. The anger you weren't allowed to express. The desires you were told were wrong. The weaknesses you buried to appear strong. All of it lives in the shadow, shaping you from behind the scenes. When you meet someone who irritates you instantly, or when you despise a quality in others with unusual intensity, chances are, that's your shadow speaking. You are not just reacting to them, you are reacting to a hidden part of yourself you cannot accept. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Every reaction is a clue. Every overreaction is a doorway. The question is, will you walk through it, or will you slam it shut and pretend it isn't there? Most people slam it shut. They say, that's just how I am. That's just how life is. And by doing so, they hand the reins of their life to the unconscious. They become puppets of wounds they've never faced. But you're here, listening, because something in you refuses to keep living that way. You are tired of being a puppet. You are tired of hurting without knowing why. You are tired of being controlled by patterns that make no sense. And here comes the uncomfortable truth, you cannot control life, but you can face yourself. And facing yourself is the only path to freedom. So what does it mean to face the unconscious? It means being willing to look at what you've denied for years. To sit with the grief you've numbed, the anger you've repressed, the fear you've silenced. It means listening to the parts of you that make you uncomfortable, instead of pushing them away. Jung gave us an image. Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't push her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, treat her like a guest, and listen to what she has to say. But most of us don't listen. We drown her voice in distractions, scrolling endlessly, keeping busy, numbing ourselves with consumption, relationships, entertainment. Anything to avoid the silence in which the unconscious speaks. And yet, the more you avoid, the more it grows. The unconscious is not silenced by ignorance. It is fueled by it. So the real question becomes, are you willing to listen? Are you willing to turn toward the darkness instead of away from it? Are you willing to step onto the battlefield of the unconscious, not to fight, but to understand? Because here is the paradox: what you fear in yourself is never as terrifying as your avoidance of it. The monster under the bed shrinks the moment you shine a light. The shadow loses its grip the moment you give it a name. The journey of becoming unshakable begins with this first act of courage, facing the unconscious. Not to conquer it, not to erase it, but to integrate it. You will not become untouchable by hiding your pain. You will become unshakable by embracing it, by seeing it clearly, by refusing to let it rule you from the shadows. So let me ask you now, what is the wound you keep avoiding? What is the fear you never speak of? What is the shadow you pretend is not there? Until you face it, you will remain fragile. But the moment you do, you will discover a strength you never imagined. In the next part of this journey, we will explore the greatest lie you've been told, that building walls, masks, and armor will protect you. We will see why protection fails, and why integration is the only true shield. Most people believe that the only way to stop getting hurt is to build walls. To become cold, detached, unreachable. They wear masks of indifference, they construct armor out of pride, they repeat the mantra, "I don't care anymore." But tell me, if you truly didn't care, why do you still bleed in silence? Why do the words you claim to ignore keep echoing in your mind at night? Why do you tell yourself you've moved on, only to feel the same pain when a new situation arises? The truth is simple but brutal: your armor is a lie. It may fool others. It may even fool you for a time. But underneath, the wound is still alive. The walls you build to keep pain out also keep pain in. Jung understood this well. He knew that strength does not come from denial. He said, "Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul." And that includes your own soul. No matter how polished the mask you wear, your inner self still longs to be seen. It cries out for authenticity. Every time you silence it, you grow more fragile, not less. Because fragility is born not from pain itself, but from pretending it isn't there. Think about the strongest people you know. Are they the ones who act invincible, who never admit weakness, who bury every emotion? Or are they the ones who have walked through fire, who have faced loss, betrayal, fear, and emerged more grounded, more human, more whole? True strength is not the absence of feeling. It is the capacity to feel fully and still remain centered. To weep without collapsing. To be rejected without losing yourself. To walk through suffering and still keep your heart open. And here's the paradox: the more you try to protect yourself, the more vulnerable you become. Why? Because you are still living in reaction to pain. The moment you say "I don't care," you reveal that you do. The moment you pretend you're above it all, you prove you're still trapped by it. Jung spoke of persona, the mask we create to be accepted, admired, respected. The persona is useful. It helps us survive in society. But the tragedy begins when we confuse the mask for the self. You tell yourself, "If I appear strong, maybe I'll be strong." But strength built on performance collapses the moment reality presses too hard. This is why so many people live exhausted. They maintain the mask of competence, kindness, resilience, while inside, they are breaking. The mask consumes more energy than the pain itself. Integration, not armor, is the only path to true resilience. When you face your shadows, your anger, your grief, your fear, and bring them into the light, they stop ruling you from behind the scenes. The very things you tried to hide become the foundation of your strength. Jung described this as individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not perfect, not untouchable, but whole. Integration means you no longer split yourself into acceptable and unacceptable parts. You become one. And in that wholeness, no external event can fracture you. Picture it this way: the armored person says, "Nothing affects me." But inside, everything does. The integrated person says, "Everything affects me, but I remain whole." Which one is stronger? When you deny your sadness, you become bitter. When you deny your anger, it leaks out as resentment. When you deny your fear, it paralyzes you at the worst moments. But when you accept all of it, when you look at your sadness and say, "I see you," when you meet your anger and say, "You are part of me," when you face your fear and still walk forward, then you are untouchable. Not because you feel nothing, but because nothing can break what is already embraced. Here is the secret no one tells you: pretending not to care makes you fragile. Integrating what you care about makes you unshakable. And yet, most people resist this path. Why? Because facing yourself is harder than building walls. It's easier to wear a mask than to sit with your pain. It's easier to say I'm fine than to confront the storm inside. But easy is not freedom. Easy is prison. The longer you hide behind armor, the more disconnected you become, not only from others, but from yourself. And nothing is more painful than being invisible to your own soul. Jung warned us, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Light without shadow is an illusion. Wholeness requires both. So let me ask you, what armor are you wearing right now? The mask of the strong one who never bends? The shield of the indifferent one who pretends not to feel? The wall of silence that says nothing can hurt you? And more importantly, what has it cost you? How many real connections have you lost because you were too busy performing strength? How much inner peace have you sacrificed to maintain the illusion of control? How many nights have you spent restless, replaying words you claimed didn't matter? Armor is expensive. It costs you your energy, your peace, your authenticity. And at the end of the day, it doesn't protect you, it isolates you. Integration, on the other hand, liberates. It does not promise comfort. It does not promise that you will never feel pain again. But it promises that when pain comes, it will not destroy you. Think of gold refined in fire. Before the flames, it is covered in impurities. It looks fragile, incomplete. But when it is burned, the impurities fall away, and what remains is indestructible. That is what happens when you integrate your pain. The fire does not break you. It reveals your core. This is why closing yourself off will never work. Walls keep life out, but they also keep you trapped. Armor numbs the pain, but it also numbs the joy. Masks protect you from rejection, but they also block authentic love. So if you want to be unshakable, you must be willing to put down the armor and step into the fire. You must be willing to feel fully, to face your shadows, to embrace your wounds. Because only then can you discover what Jung called the self, the center of your being, the union of all parts, the unbreakable core that no event, no rejection, no betrayal can destroy. And once you touch that center, you realize, you don't need to be untouchable. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to hide. Because you have already gone through the fire, and you have come out whole. This is the path of individuation. It is not about perfection. It is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming yourself, fully, unapologetically, authentically. But this path has a cost. The cost is your illusions. The cost is your masks. The cost is your armor. Are you willing to pay that price? Are you willing to let go of the persona you've worn for years, even if it makes you feel naked at first? Are you willing to stop pretending and start integrating? Because the alternative is clear: keep hiding, keep performing, keep exhausting yourself, and remain fragile. Or step into the fire, embrace your shadows, and discover a strength that no mask, no armor, no wall could ever give you. In the next part, we will explore what happens when you accept this fire, why suffering, far from being your enemy, can become the very doorway to transformation. Because pain, when faced with awareness, is not the end of the story. It is the beginning. You were taught to hate pain. From the moment you were a child, you heard that suffering is weakness, that crying is shameful, that feeling too much makes you fragile. So you learned to run. You learned to avoid. You learned to numb. But no matter how fast you run, pain has a way of finding you. It disguises itself. It transforms. If you don't face it, it reappears as anxiety that gnaws at your chest, anger that erupts at the wrong people, boredom that suffocates you, self-destructive impulses you can't explain. Ignored pain does not vanish. It digs tunnels inside you, weakening the ground beneath your feet, until one day, without warning, everything collapses. Carl Jung saw suffering differently. He did not see it as a failure, nor as a punishment, but as a message. To him, pain was the language of the soul, the alarm of the unconscious, the signal that something essential was being ignored. He once said, "Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't push her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, treat her like a guest, and listen to what she has to say." But most of us never listen. We silence ourselves. We distract ourselves. We stay busy. We numb with food, with noise, with endless scrolling. We do anything to avoid hearing what pain is whispering. Yet pain is not here to destroy you. It is here to awaken you. Think about it, growth always hurts. Muscles tear before they strengthen. Old beliefs must die before new ones can be born. Every transformation begins with discomfort. What you call suffering is often just the birth of a deeper self. The truth is that the worst part of suffering is not the pain itself, it is your resistance to it. You want life to stay the same, but part of you cries out for change. One part clings to control, the other longs for freedom. And in that friction, pain is born. Jung knew this. He understood that pain marks the threshold between the old self and the new. It is the tension of transformation, the mourning of what must die so that something else can live. That's why he saw suffering not as meaningless agony, but as sacred. Because it brings you to your knees before the only thing that can truly save you, yourself. When everything falls apart, when betrayal shatters your trust, when loss empties your heart, when rejection cuts into your identity, you are stripped bare. The masks fall. The armor cracks. The illusions dissolve. And in that raw vulnerability, you finally see who you are without the performances, without the roles, without the lies. This is why Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Consciousness is born in the fire of suffering. It is not a comfortable process. It is not pretty. But it is the only way to awaken to your true self. And here lies the paradox: the very thing you avoid, pain, is the doorway to freedom. Most people give up before crossing that doorway. They run back to distractions. They cover their wounds with new masks. They choose comfort over growth. And so they repeat the same cycles, year after year, decade after decade, always asking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" But if you are here, listening to these words, maybe you are different. Maybe you are ready to cross the dark valley. Maybe you are ready to see that your suffering is not an enemy but a guide. Because suffering, when faced with awareness, becomes initiation. Think of myths from every culture. The hero must descend into the underworld before he rises transformed. Orpheus must face Hades. Inanna must pass through the 7 gates of the underworld. Even Christ must walk through crucifixion before resurrection. The pattern is universal. Pain is not the end. Pain is the passage. Jung recognized this mythic truth. He called individuation a kind of inner alchemy. The base material of your pain, your shadows, your wounds, when accepted and worked through, are transformed into gold. This is why he often spoke of suffering as necessary. Without it, there is no real growth. Without it, you stay at the surface, living in illusions, clinging to masks. Only when life cracks you open do you have the chance to see what lies beneath. So what do you do with suffering? You stop running. You stop numbing. You sit with it. You ask, what are you trying to show me? Your grief reveals where you've attached your worth. Your anger reveals where your boundaries were crossed. Your loneliness reveals where you've abandoned yourself. Every pain carries meaning, if you are willing to listen. Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The darkness is your pain. The enlightenment is what you discover when you dare to face it. Let me ask you, what pain are you still running from? The heartbreak you never processed? The betrayal you never forgave? The loss you never mourned? The rejection that still echoes in your chest? These are not weights meant to bury you. They are doors waiting for you to walk through. But here's the warning, the path is not easy. Pain will strip you of illusions. It will force you to confront truths you'd rather avoid. It will make you feel lost, misunderstood, even alone. Yet this loneliness is not abandonment, it is initiation. Jung called it the individuation process. And every individuation requires a period of isolation, where you are separated from the collective, from your masks, from the roles you once played, so that you can return to your center. In that sacred isolation, you relearn to hear your own voice. You reconnect with your essence. You discover the strength that was hidden beneath all the layers of pretending. Yes, suffering hurts. But it also cleanses. It purifies. It burns away everything that is false, leaving only what is true. Imagine yourself as clay in the hands of the unconscious. Each loss, each rejection, each disappointment is pressure shaping you, carving you, refining you into form. Without the pressure, the clay remains formless. Without the fire, the clay never hardens. Pain is the fire that shapes you into who you truly are. So the next time pain knocks at your door, what will you do? Will you run again, numbing yourself with distractions, pretending you are fine? Or will you open the door, invite it in, and ask, what truth are you here to reveal? Because if you dare to listen, pain will give you the gift of transformation. This is why some people, after great suffering, emerge wiser, stronger, more compassionate. While others, after the same suffering, remain bitter, resentful, broken. The difference is not in what happened, it is in how they responded. The ones who ran remain enslaved. The ones who faced it found freedom. And now, it is your choice. Will you let suffering be the chain that keeps you bound? Or will you let it be the key that sets you free? In the next part of this journey, we will explore what happens after you step through the fire, how individuation transforms not only your relationship with yourself, but with the world around you. We will see why wholeness, not perfection, is the real foundation of an unshakable life. When you stop running from your pain, something extraordinary begins to happen. At first, there is only silence. An uncomfortable silence that feels like emptiness. You wonder, have I lost myself? Am I becoming too cold, too distant? But gradually, the silence transforms. It begins to heal. It begins to cleanse. What once felt like loneliness turns into presence, your own presence. For the first time, you are no longer abandoning yourself to keep others close. For the first time, you begin to feel whole. This is the birth of individuation, the process Jung called the path toward becoming your true self. And make no mistake, individuation is not about becoming perfect, untouchable, or admired by everyone. It is about becoming whole. Wholeness means you no longer divide yourself between acceptable and unacceptable parts. You no longer wear masks to please others. You no longer live as a prisoner of their approval. You embrace all of who you are, the light and the shadow, the strengths and the flaws, the beauty and the brokenness. And here's the paradox: when you stop trying to be perfect, you finally become powerful. Because perfection is fragile, it crumbles at the first mistake. But wholeness is indestructible. Nothing outside of you can break what you have already embraced within yourself. Jung said, "I would rather be whole than good." And now you understand why. Goodness, as defined by others, demands masks. Wholeness, as defined by yourself, demands truth. Think about the chains that once held you: fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of loss. Where are they now? They dissolve when you realize you no longer need to be controlled by them. You will still feel pain, yes. You will still face rejection, betrayal, and loss. But these no longer define you. They no longer fracture you. Because you are no longer reacting from wounds, you are responding from wholeness. This is the true meaning of being unshakable. Not untouched, not invulnerable, but unbreakable, because you have already walked through the fire and found yourself on the other side. And in this wholeness, something else is born: freedom. Freedom from needing to explain yourself. Freedom from the compulsion to please. Freedom from living as a puppet of other people's emotions. You no longer exist as a tool for others' validation, comfort, or control. You exist as yourself, for yourself. At first, this freedom may frighten others. They may accuse you of being distant, arrogant, changed. But remember, what they are reacting to is not your coldness, it is their loss of control. They can no longer manipulate you with guilt, provoke you into reactions, or use your availability as their safety net. And yes, some people will leave. But here's the truth: those who leave when you become whole were never really with you. They were only with the mask, the persona, the version of you that existed to serve them. It will hurt to lose them. But what you gain is worth infinitely more: you gain yourself. This is why Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Becoming whole is not easy. It requires fire, solitude, discomfort. But on the other side is a life where you no longer betray yourself just to be accepted. On the other side is a presence that commands respect without effort, because you no longer need to prove anything. On the other side is a peace the world cannot touch. And now the question is no longer, can I survive suffering? The question is, am I willing to live fully? Because when you become whole, you stop surviving and start creating. You are no longer shaped by circumstances, you shape your own reality. You are no longer at the mercy of projections, you define your own story. This is what individuation gives you: sovereignty over your inner world. But let's be clear, this path does not end. Individuation is not a destination, it is a journey. Every day, you choose again. Every day, you listen to yourself instead of abandoning yourself. Every day, you integrate more of who you are. And that is the daily work of freedom. So let me ask you now, directly, are you ready to stop betraying yourself? Are you ready to let go of the masks, the armor, the illusions? Are you ready to choose wholeness over perfection, truth over approval, freedom over control? Because if you are, then suffering has already done its job. It has brought you here. It has prepared you for transformation. And from this moment on, everything can change. You may lose people. You may face criticism. You may even walk alone for a while. But you will walk as yourself, for the first time. And when you do, you will discover the secret that was always waiting for you. When you stop abandoning yourself, the world can no longer abandon you. This is the rebirth. This is the strength that no betrayal, no rejection, no loss can take away. This is the life that begins when you finally become whole. If these words resonated with you, don't let them remain just ideas. Transformation begins when awareness turns into action. Write in the comments, "I choose wholeness." Let's see how many of us are ready to step out of masks and into freedom. And don't stop here. The next video continues this journey. It will take you deeper into Jung's insights, showing how to protect your energy and live from your center. You need to hear it. It's more important than you imagine. So subscribe, click the next video, and let's walk this path together. Because the world doesn't need more people pretending to be strong. It needs people who are whole. And maybe, just maybe, that begins with you today.